Hello, welcome back to You Live. If you didn't know, it is National Sign Language Week, so we have got Tanya and Hannah coming in to have a conversation with us to kind of raise a little bit of awareness and tell us why Sign Language Week is around and why it's good to get the conversation going out there. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good week? Busy week?
Yeah, well, there's quite a lot on this week, being New Zealand Sign Language Week.
Totally.
Yeah. New Zealand Sign Language Week kind of basically is to raise awareness in New Zealand about New Zealand Sign Language, which is our third official language.
It's my favourite piece of trivia. If you want to stump your friends to say what are New Zealand's three official languages, English, Te Reo, and then it always kind of stumps them on the third. It is New Zealand Sign Language, which isn't International Sign Language.
No.
No, it's not.
So what's the difference?
Well, International Sign Language isn't actually a language, it's sort of like a mixture of whatever signs work. So I think every country has their own sign language.
Sure.
You know, it's French Sign Language, British Sign Language, American Sign Language, and it goes on.
Just like how there are differences between verbal languages, between English, French, New Zealand, are there differences, obvious differences that kind of make sense in terms of French Sign Language and English Sign Language, or is it not like it would be? Might be a weird question.
What do you really mean by that?
I don't even really know what I'm asking.
Yeah,
I'm just sort of thinking, like, we all have different accents.
Are
there like sort of sign language accents from different country to country?
Yes,
totally.
Very definitely. Even in New Zealand, like Wellington has different signs from Auckland. And
Yeah.
Like what?
And Christchurch. Oh well, in Wellington, for example, the sign for train is train.
Okay.
Because it makes sense because we've got electric trains, right?
Sure.
We're here in Auckland, we use diesel train, so the sign here is train.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. But that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Upstairs today, I was learning in preparation my name, Tim.
Yeah.
Very straightforward, 3 letters. I'd been told it was... Am I close?
Well, that's actually Lim, so quite close.
And
2 letters are correct.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Lim's my mum's maiden name, so I'm kind of there. So what's T? Okay, so, and that makes perfect sense. Like, visually, it kind of represents T. And that's, is that sort of how the alphabet works consistently?
Well, yeah, most of the letters do look like what they look like in their written form.
Yep.
But I guess the ones that are most different are the vowels, which you've just got on each of your fingers.
Oh, okay.
So A, E, I, O, U.
There you go.
And then most of the letters do look like they look in written English.
Nice. And you guys, of course, are studying sign language and to be interpreters at AUT, which is the only place in New Zealand where you can do that. How did you get yourself into that course?
Yeah, well, for me, I was doing a degree in film and classics down in Wellington at Victoria University, and I really wanted to learn another language, and I had a look at what was on offer in New Zealand. There was New Zealand Sign Language. I thought that would be really cool to give it a try.
Totally.
And I, started off and really came to love it, and
Nice. And how about you?
Glad to hear.
Tanya?
I like to call it accidentally on purpose. I was looking for like a filler sort of course just to get into something else, and I needed, the higher grade with NCEA, and I started doing a certificate, which is also at AUT, and it was just like, wow, the language is so much fun to learn, especially when you're doing storytelling. And I decided, oh, well, I might as well stay for the long haul.
And does learning sign language, because when you learn another language, it changes the way you think about your own language, it changes the way you speak. How does sign language change how you use
Tim, just
English?
Looking at you, by the way, while you answer that question, have you ever seen anyone with as expressive a hand movement as Tim
I'm
Lamb?
telling you, it's crazy.
It's beautiful.
If you could add the ability to sign as you were speaking, you'd be a triple threat, my friend.
Oh,
I think you should
very
study
hard to it. But do you know what I mean, right? Like you learn Spanish, you start to think about sentence structure and that sort of thing. So how does sign language, I'm doing it again,
the
change
point
your
that Matt made
English?
is actually it's a good point, because, we've noticed since learning the sign language, I only started last year, and since then I'm always more gesturing more, and you just get so expressive. But something that's cool is when you're eating and you're trying to talk to people. If you're with a sign language user, just sign away, they know what you're doing.
That's
You
so
just
good.
shovel it onto your mouth and you're just like...
Because I can never decide. I want to talk so much, and then I've got all this food in my mouth. Like, what do I do? You guys have just absolutely nailed it.
It is frustrating, though, when you get a person that doesn't understand sign language, and you're like, signing, understand me, and
to you, it's like also it makes perfect sense. Ryan from Nelson, who's watching this show, says, "How do you sign Tim Lamborn loves to roll his shirts up?" Can you please help Ryan with that one?
All right. Well,
Roll his shirts up?
Oh.
There you go.
And you're...
Loves rolling up shirt,
Really?
Yeah. It's not all sign language is like that. It's not all as you see it. But
Yeah.
For this, okay, well there you go, right, now you can tell that to all your friends.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you very, very much for coming in. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you. What can people do if they have an interest in sign language and they want to get involved in their local uni or at AUT? What's the best way to sort of go forward?
During Sign Language Week, Deaf Aotearoa, if you just go to deafaotearoa.co.nz, they have free taster courses. It's a 45-minute class, free. Go along, you know, have a feel, see if you like it. And if you do, there's Vic University in Wellington does, you know, some courses, and then there's AUT, and you can just go online.
There's also, if you're a bit younger or you're not kind of sure about going into it full time, you can also go to night classes at local high schools, just adult community education.
Nice.
Loads of them have New Zealand Sign Language classes.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much for coming in. What I want you to do right now is introduce the next video clip in New Zealand Sign Language. It is called A Thing for Me by Metronomy. So, without further ado...